Right, let's get started on a playthrough, shall we? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just have a look here, what I've got in my hand. So, employ the Just Talk technique, earning 2 trust and keeping both insight cards. So usually you draw 2 and discard 1, but you get to keep both. And so this essentially lets you break the rule that Just Talk has to be the only action you take in a turn, because you could have taken other actions and then you play Leverage Insight as your last one and then get to do the Just Talk anyway. So these generally help you break the rules and give you sort of more of a bump. I am looking at clarifying the employ, because it can be a bit confusing as to whether you need an employment token to be able to take this action. My initial intention was that this was just meant to be, you just use the technique as an extra, you don't have to have the token. So I might just get rid of the employ and go with just having a benefit, but we'll see. And then this one, what we've got here, employ the adjust perception technique, selecting 2 mind tiles and splitting the approach rotation between them as you wish. So not so good early game, because you've only got 1. That's more useful late game, so probably not going to look to play that one straight up. This one would be maybe useful, but again, it's more late game. It's more beneficial in the late game than it is in the early game, but that's sort of the way sometimes the draw goes. So yeah, that's the insight card. So I probably won't be taking Leverage Insight as my first turn, but that's fairly rare, unless, because you've got to set up the pattern anyway, and I've made it so that you don't get any of the patterns automatically off the starting turn. So yeah, you kind of have to do that setup, unless there's not really a way to force that. So at the very earliest, they're going to be on your second turn, but based on these abilities, I probably wouldn't even want to do them that early. Right, so generally on your first turn, you're going to be looking at potentially adjust perception, refocus memory, if one of these is a good sort of early play card. You might want to flip a tile to get it, so you're getting the patterns to match up. Obviously, you have to be careful, because if you flip anything to its unhealthy side from healthy, you lose trust. So again, with this broad pattern here in the opening turn, yeah, there's not much you can do. It's too much of a risk. So you sort of Just Talk is generally a go-to on your first session, which makes sense really. So there is an argument to potentially adjusting the starting trust to a 3, so that way you can afford to lose 2 and not lose the game. So yeah, might consider that. Sorry, getting sidetracked. See, Just Talk is generally not a bad first action. Bumping your trust up so that you can manipulate things a little bit and afford to lose some trust. Or you can just get an extra turn to take early, which is also not bad. The other ones you want to look at, you could medicate, but again, you could lose the game almost immediately if you medicate that soon. Which, like, thematically, like, I'm trying to go for things that essentially represent good psychological practice. Just not knowing the patient and then going straight to medication. Maybe you get lucky, but oftentimes not so much. Medication, a lot of the time, although needed by a lot of people, can be risky because it's still kind of an unknown thing as to how people will react. Maybe a good medication for a lot of people, but somebody could have a negative reaction to it. So it is a lot of trial and error when you're getting medication, unfortunately. Hopefully that improves in time. Then you've got adjust perception, so you start rotating things around. So if you're looking at the picture here, you might see that a couple of things are pretty close. Like this one here, for instance, is only one away from being in its correct orientation. So it's a fairly sort of easy step to make. One, you just turn that, done. That's in its right spot. It's not in the right location, but it's at least in the correct orientation. So that's one less thing you have to think about. Organized thoughts. Again, if you see something that's fairly close to where it's supposed to be in its final, section here, you might want to just lock it in there so that it's set. But you generally have to move things around backwards and forwards. Like if you've ever done those slide puzzles and stuff like that, sometimes you have to make sure that you line them up so that your movements are more efficient when you need to slide things around. So if you lock something in place too early, it could actually roadblock you from shifting things down, and then you get it too far out of its own needed space because you've had to move it out of the way to get other things where they need to be. So yeah, as I said, I'm probably going to do the obvious thing, which is come to Just Talk. So that's my first action, and gain a trust. Oh right, yes, it's only one trust, so I don't get the extra action yet, but I gain that trust, which gives me the ability next turn to potentially, flip some tiles if I want to, and not lose the game. All right, so that's my first action. So we move when you get to the end of a session, which is when you've exhausted all of your technique employments, it returns whichever ones you have, return here. And you progress the session forward. All right. The other thing actually I should have mentioned is that if you ever cross the threshold, so for instance, say I was up here on 5 and I had 2 employment tokens, and I took the Medicaid action, for instance, and I rolled a red 2, I immediately lose 2 trust. This one here that's not being used goes straight back to the board. Or say I'd already done that first, and then I take the Medicaid action and get that. Then when I go back, when I drop the 2 trust, the last played employment is what gets removed from the board and placed back here. There you go. So session 2. I think I will do this refocus memories, because what I'm thinking is I want to play this next turn. So I want to set up this pattern here. So if I look here, I just need to flip this one to its healthy side to meet the requirements for this. So I've also got like little handy reminders on here on what they do, so you don't have to keep looking at a rule book necessarily once you're more familiar. Like you might want to look at it for more specifics as you're learning, but it's just sort of a way to help remind you. All right, so what's going to be the least detrimental way to get that to its healthy side? So I've got to use this pattern here, the 5 cluster of 5 pattern. So I wouldn't want to do this because I'd lose 3 trust straight away, which would cause me to lose the game in this pattern. Same with that. I've only got, so I can either flip these 5 or these 5. So I'd lose 2, I'd drop back to 1 for each healthy one I flipped over, but this would be on its healthy side. So it's just a matter of working out whether I want to flip that one or that one. No, these 2 or these 2, because these 3 will get flipped no matter what. Oops, sorry, bumped the stand. Here's part of the game. I'm going to illustrate, actually, I'm going to do this cluster here because I'm going to illustrate a part of the game that I'm not sure how to necessarily resolve, but when it comes to manipulating the tiles, the outside ones are pretty easy. Getting to the inside ones, and especially when you're swapping tiles around, gets a little bit fiddly, unfortunately, unavoidably. So I tend to try and just slide out of the way. Goes back to there. I think whether I include some tweezers or something with the game. So that's those 2, and then these 3 need to flip as well. All right. So yeah, like I said, you can see that that's a little bit fiddly. May need some adjustment, although not entirely sure how to resolve that particular issue as yet. Right. So that's done. That's met. So I need to lose 2 trust for the 2 healthy tiles that were flipped to their unhealthy side, taking me back to 1. And yeah, that ends the turn, ends the session. So this returns here, this progresses to here. And then yeah, so then we come, so my first action of session 3 is to leverage insight. So meet this criteria here, as you can see, healthy surrounding the hunt. So I can play this. So I will employ the just talk technique. See, I don't have the extra employment token. So this is the way it was initially meant to derive or sort of to work. So yeah, whether you just temporarily take one of these off the board and then have to take it back, but that can be confusing to remember what you've got. Whether I have another colored token that represents the insight employments, or whether I just get rid of that wording altogether. But anyway, for now, just talk. So I will gain 1 trust there, putting me back up to 2. Place this in the discard pile. I get to draw 2 insight cards. Sorry. And usually I'd have to choose one to discard, but in this case I get to keep them both. So what do we get? We got another just minor insight, just flavor, and then this one. So employ the reorganized thoughts technique, and you may swap with mind tiles up to 2 hexes away. So usually they have to be adjacent. You can only swap with adjacents, but this one breaks that, so you can swap these two, for instance, or these two, so on and so forth. You understand. So it allows you to break the adjacency rule, which might be very helpful. All right. Again, that ends the session. So you can see that the early ones go pretty quickly, but as you start to sort of build a bit more trust, you have more things to do in a single session. So you can sort of push it a little bit further than that. Don't have any insights to meet here. Now, I could potentially do one of these actions here, so could discard two of them that I may not want to use for one of these effects. I've got 3, so I could automatically do this, medicate with a set blue 1 result. So that would be useful if I was on 3 and I just pop myself in here, and then I could get that extra turn with the bonus of the medication straight away. Not as useful at this moment. I don't really want to get rid of 3 cards. Just at this moment, I don't think that's as efficient as it could be. Oh goodness, I know it seems a bit boring. Oh, no, I might as well just. Oh. Let's just show you how some of these actions work. So I'm going to adjust perception, and I can pick a tile, a single tile, and rotate it twice, or I can pick 2 tiles and rotate them once each. So, looking at the picture, these 2 are only 1 turn away from being in their correct orientation, even if they're not in their correct location. So I'm going to do that. So the sky ones can be a little bit sort of challenging to see, but I don't know if you can notice it here, but see how the slight discoloring here, the pink and then mostly blue here sort of matches there, so yeah, and that matches there. So they're in their correct orientation. So you can like come here and look at this, and like got this eye here is completely upside down and on the wrong side based on that. So you can kind of get an idea, like it is a lot harder obviously navigating this, but you can sort of look at where the shading and stuff sort of sits and get an idea of where these are at too. So all right, well that's another session done. I really do want to get some more employment tokens sooner rather than later. I think I'm going to have to take this to do this, because what this means is like I can maybe take a risk on the medicate action next turn, or I just take another just talk on the next turn and get myself another employment token. I can start opening up a bit more, but it's just what needs to happen. So I gain the trust and I draw 2 and keep 1. Oh, well, it's not a hard choice. So just to show you how it works, I'm not necessarily a gambler usually, but I'll take a gamble on this one. I'll do the Medicaid action. So roll the die wherever you sort of, wherever you're comfortable. You can use the box. Like you got it stored in if you want to. Oh, there we go. So, ouch. Not ideal. So that comes and sits here. I immediately lose 1 trust. And the next action I take connected to this is going to be affected negatively. So the approach gets affected on these two. Like my leverage, which is probably what I've got the most of. So I couldn't even take the discard 2. Oh, well, I could actually, because I just discard an extra 1, is it? Yeah. So I'd have to pay 3 to do one of these and 4 to do this, and this one's out. So I don't have 5 in hand, so. And that one, that's pretty brutal. Can't flipping disturb stuff over. They're all pretty mean, really, but yeah, so as you can see, 1, selected 1, at the moment it's 1. So ouch. I am not connecting as much as I would like with this patient. So that's the session. All right, so so I've done all the actions except organized thoughts. So I'll just do this one last thing to show you how that works, and then that'll be the end of this little tutorial. And I'll even, can I do this? Oh, no, I can't. All right, well, I might, well, you know what, I can, because it'll lose the game for me. I'll show you how this works. Or I might even just fudge it a little bit and put that up just to show you how that might function. All right, organized thoughts. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll select 2 adjacent tiles, and I can swap them. So the other thing about this is that I could potentially, so I could swap in, so I may not have to flip, I could swap into meeting one of these requirements to be able to play this. That's the other thing you can do. Which, come to think of it, I probably could have done on my first, my second action and not be so far behind in the trust. But anyway, I don't really want this being so I've got, my approach is 2 now, so I can do this action, like I can do this twice. So I can take this and swap it with this. That's the other thing. You got to make sure that you keep your tiles in the orientation they were in. Like I said, there's a bit of dexterity fiddle. It is not, oops, that's not going to work. That's not going to set me up for what I want. Oh no. might be a better example to do this way then. Ooh. Let's do that. So now I've got this one available to me here. And I still really want to get this up in here. Regardless. You know what? Oh, but if I do that, then it cancels this out. Oh dear. Right, well, this one needs to come down to the bottom, so let's just do that. Let's get that moving down towards the bottom there. All right. And that would be the end of the session, but just to show you, I'll put this up a little bit. So let's push the patient. So I can take this, and if I want to, I could do organized thoughts again. But since I've made this nice little pattern here, I will use it to leverage insight. So I immediately lose 2 trust. And do this. Employ the adjust perception technique, selecting 2 mind tiles and splitting the approach rotation between them as you wish. So not as effective in session 2 because it's just the same as, it's exactly the same as the action. But yeah, usually you have to, I'm actually not sure. This might actually be an old card. I think I might have reworded this because, yeah, anyway. All right, so I'd play that. Oh, actually, you know what? No, I won't play that. I've set that up, but I'm actually not going to play it now. What I'll do is, I couldn't have swapped that last one actually because it was at -1. Just retroactively go back there a little bit. I forgot. Mitigation die. So I could only do 1 set of tiles. So I set this up. That gets absolved, so that's done. And then pretending, that I've taken this action now, then I could do this. So what I will do then is discard 3 of these. So I'll get rid of the one that's actually kind of useless. I know I've set it up, but so discard 3 to then do that. So do 1, means I immediately gain a trust. And the next action I would take would have +1, or as the effects here sort of dictate. All right, I think that's everything covered. This was going to be probably not a great playthrough in terms of reaching successful end of treatment. But yeah, that's how it works. All right.